What's going on, everybody? It's Super Bowl week. It's Thursday. We're a couple days before the Super Bowl, but I'm here with my pal, Tony Tucker. He's in the LA area. I'm in the LA area. The feel around here is buzzing. I don't know about you, Tony, but everywhere I walk, people are ready for the Super Bowl. But it's hot as hell. Where did heat come from? Is winter over?
Winter's definitely over. It'll be cold next week because I was very curious about that myself. But I don't want to talk about weather as much as I want to talk about the enormous amount of Rams flags that have gone up in the past 2 weeks. I told you there was a couple 49er flags that have gone up. Now there's even more Rams flags and like on the cars and stuff in the neighborhoods. I will admit that on a Sunday morning, I like to cook breakfast, family, kids, whatever else. I would run to the store and I would see a lot of Rams jerseys in there. I would see them buying beer. Like if the game started at, it was an East Coast game, I could catch them inside of Ralph's getting, case of Modelo or something like that, getting ready to watch the Rams play.
Well, I'm gonna like a lot of people are making a big deal. I know that you're not on TikTok a lot, Tony, but people are making a big deal about the Bengals had a send off party, like an end rally before they all went to LA. They said they had 3,000 people there, or over 3,000 people. I don't know, something like that. And then the Rams had the same thing, and they maybe had 300 people, or that's what they're claiming. Some outrageous number like that. I went to the Rams training camp this year with Mike, with my family. Training camp was packed. Training camp at Rams was pretty damn packed. I know that there's a lot of new Rams fans because when you talk to some of these people that are not regular NFL fans, they're like, "Oh, the Rams are a new team. They just got to LA. Like they just made them a couple years ago." Okay, those aren't your real fans, but most people know the history of the Rams. And I know that the new flags are handing out, and I even got a bunch of those new flags because they gave them away at training camp, but I gave them to a bunch of Rams fans. So there are real Ram fans in LA, but they're just barely showing up.
Yeah, no, my brother and nephew, they have season tickets. They went to, I think, 7 home games this year. It's great. It's like LA is one of those cities where there's a lot of stuff to do, and then you add in the component of extreme traffic and everything else. It's like you don't have the same kind of connection to your sports teams as you do in the Midwest. We just never will. Like there's an identity. It's cold. They've been forced inside their homes because it's been winter for like 4 months, and it will be for another 6 weeks probably. But like out here, people are like, what are we doing? It's like, do we want to watch Super Bowl coverage? Do we want to or do you want to go, you want to go for a hike? You want to go to the park? You want to get outside and do something with your kids? We have options here. So people aren't as obsessed with sports as you are in the Midwest.
Yeah. And winning always brings out the best in LA, right? And you've seen it with all the LA teams. Like the Dodgers pull the biggest. The Dodgers in baseball pull the biggest fan base, like year in and year out. They're always consistently having the most home game. But there's a different feel when the Dodgers go to the playoffs, and more LA people come out. More of the superstars or Hollywood people start coming out. It's just winning does that to every team. Like the Bengals, there's a lot of Bengal fans out there now, right? Today that you didn't see a couple of years ago. All of a sudden now this is a winning franchise, and all these people are like, I've been Bengal fans for years. But I think we can go back to every franchise, and I like to do it to the 49ers mostly. But we can go back to any franchise and find when their fan base weren't showing up to the stadiums, when they were struggling, and all that. I'm just glad that, to be honest with you, I'm glad the Rams are in it. Because I couldn't take it. It's the Super Bowl's in LA. I couldn't take the other LA team being in it. So I'm glad the Rams are in it. And I'm glad the Bengals are in it because I couldn't take another Patrick Mahomes Super Bowl either.
Well, our options was Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes again. So I think that I'm happy with the outcome overall as long as Stafford wins the Super Bowl. But I wanted to go backtrack real quick because they did a topic this morning on Good Morning Football, and they were like, "Who's the bigger, celebrity fan? DiCaprio of the Rams or George Clooney of the Bengals?" And I was like, "Hold up a second, George Clooney's a fucking Bengal," and then like one of the guys was like defending him. He's like, he's been a Bengals fan for years through all the down. I'm like, how is it that somebody who loves football as much as I do, watch football nonstop? Like one of the things that when I met my now wife, was I said to her that if Brett Favre was in on the microphone at a press conference, if you have something important to tell me, wait till it's like this. Look, I'm just trying to give you an example of what kind of football fan I am, because I want her for her to be heard. And if Favre was talking, she probably wasn't going to get heard. How is it that I could make it 35 years and not know that George Clooney, one of the most famous people on the planet, is a Bengals fan? Like, I get that they're bad, but wouldn't you just the idea like, oh, his old man was from Cincinnati, or I've never seen him at a Monday night game. I've never heard about him. Like, at least like Bill Murray loves the Chicago Cubs. John Cusack loves the Cubs. Like you see the Billy Crystal, huge Clippers fan. Snoop Dogg at the Lakers games. You see these people at games. Yeah. I've never seen George Clooney even mention the Bengals.
No. I've never seen that either. It's like, okay, so you rooted for the Bengals. No.
Maybe he was, but like, you know what? I will say this much. There was a lot of famous Kansas City Chiefs fans, but like you kind of already knew like Paul Rudd. You had seen like shared pictures from the celebrity Instagram, or like Eric Stone Street would be like, oh, I'm at a Kansas City, event or whatever. This is like still before like, maybe like the Alex Chiefs or whatever, when they were starting to get good with Andy Reid. But those guys aren't on the level of George Clooney.
No. And you, at one point in your whole career, you should have had like at least one Bengal hat, a picture somewhere, and you don't see it. I don't think I've ever seen it either.
Never. It's never come up. He's never even written it into a movie. Like Adam Sandler loves the Jets.
Yeah.
He references the Jets in like 15 films.
Well, he owned the Jets in Mr. Deeds, right?
I think so. Something like that. Yeah. Like he was handed down to him. I don't know. It's just all of those things are very interesting to me. It's the bandwagon fans are one thing.
So we should make it, once you become an A-list celebrity, you need to come out and you need to announce who you're rooting for, so we don't assume that you're jumping on bandwagons later on.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, LeBron is a fan of Cleveland, a fan of the Cowboys, he's a fan of the Rams. When the Chargers are in the Super Bowl next year, he'll be a fan of the Chargers. Like, LeBron just skips wherever the wind takes him, which is fine. I've flip-flopped on a lot of my favorite teams. Like, I spent half of my time in the Midwest, and half of my life I've spent in the LA area. So the teams I loved, the players I loved when I was a kid, are not the same teams and players that I love 20 years later.
See, I don't flip-flop, Tony. I'm a Raider fan. We don't do that kind of stuff.
Oh, my gosh.
I don't care where you move to. That fandom's supposed to move with you, Tony.
You know what's crazy is like I'm looking because all I have right now is mock drafts, right? So I've been very obsessed, and I've been looking at what realistically I think the Chargers could get in free agency, and then where their draft and whatever it is. And I think that it's probably going to be easier to target offensive line in free agency than getting one of these star defensive players I want. So I've just been looking around, and every time the Raiders draft position comes up, I'm always like, oh, that's a good player. I hope they don't draft him. And in years past, I was always like, well, it's the Raiders. They'll fuck it up. Like, there's no way they'll take the right guy at this position. I'm not sure that's the case anymore. Like, I think you guys might actually make a sound, solid pick with your draft position, and I don't really like it.
Well, I'm hoping they take the one thing I've always wanted the Raiders to do, and I was hoping Mayock would do it as a draft guru, is make trades during the draft. I love it when a team is going up and down the board. You don't know what they're going to do. Yes, you expect them to stay there in their spot, but like I like when trades happen. Don't you like it when you see your team making moves? That means they're actively. It makes it seem like they actually know what they're doing. I don't know.
So that's funny you say that, because in one of the mock drafts, it's like Zero Line or whatever. He projects that the Chargers actually trade back with the Steelers so that the Steelers can get their QB, and he doesn't say what we would get out of the deal, but I kind of like it because I don't think there's any need to draft any of these offensive linemen. All three of the experts on NFL Network have the Chargers drafting an offensive lineman. I would not love drafting an offensive lineman in the first round 2 years in a row. You already hit on one, and then you're going to ask all three of the kids they're drafting are left tackles. You're going to ask them to switch to the other side. I don't love that unless you are trading back and getting something else. And then it's like, okay, cool. Now we have 2 second rounders, or maybe 2 third rounds, and we can go and we can dig a little bit deeper. But my new flavor of the day, because I've been with the Georgia players, it's either Jordan Davis, the big D tackle, or the 2 linebackers, Dean and Walker. Trayvon, not Quay. But the new one is the linebacker Ojoba or whatever. David, the linebacker from Michigan. He's like 6'5" and just like he's a monster out there. I was like, he would look good in powder blue. So that's how I've been consuming my time. Rewatching Herbert highlights over again, crying myself to sleep because I'm over inundated with Joe Burrow mania and coverage and everything. Yeah. And you and Mike keep on fucking trolling me with all these bolster videos that I would never see. And now he's my mortal enemy, Brian Bolster. You're my mortal enemy. And now I got to turn into Alex Robson.
Yeah, well, I'm kind of done with it too. Like, I'm not gonna lie, the coverage on Joe Burrow it's been ridiculous. And like you said, he's getting the what do we call it? The Chuck Norris treatment.
Yes.
And people are like, this guy, this. It's like, okay. Joe Burrow, is he doing unrealistic things? Yes. But the dude got sacked 9 times against Tennessee in the first round or the second round of the playoffs. And then last week, he made some great moves last week. But come on, we can't put him. This is his second year in the league, and we can't put him up above all these great people. And it needs to calm down just a little bit. I love the folk stories or whatever, and I love that we can build people up and take the underdog story. But I think you said it the other day in our group chat. At the end of this year, at the end of the Super Bowl, when the Bengals lose and the Bengals are done, all will be white in the world, and the Bengals will go back to the bottom of their division next year.
I firmly believe that next year they're going to be playing with expectations, whether they win the Super Bowl or not. They're going to have a first place schedule. So you're going to be banking on that the Ravens don't retool. You're going to be banking on the fact that the Steelers don't find possibly especially if the Steelers get one of these quarterbacks that's maybe not happy or whatever it is. And we've already seen Tomlin work miracles with Duck Hodges and Mason Rudolph. Just give him an adequate quarterback, back there. And then the Browns. I know everybody, I did pick a team from Ohio to go to the Super Bowl. I just picked the wrong one. Yeah. The Browns are still a good football team. I don't necessarily think they're going to win the division or anything. I'm not going to die on that hill 2 years in a row. But it's a tough division. No matter what, you still have to play the Browns defense twice. You still have to win. Those are tough games that they have to work through. And I just think playing with expectation, staying healthy. Now, if you tell me that the Bengals really address their offensive line and bring in some free agents, then yeah, I'll probably change my tune. But right now, it's tough to go back to the playoffs. It's tough to stay healthy to go to back-to-back Super Bowls and whatever else. And this notion that Joe Burrow has just been the most sensational thing ever. It's like he didn't play that great against the Raiders. He didn't play great against the Titans, and everybody's going, oh, 9 sacks, the offensive line's so bad. There's other quarterbacks in situations with bad offensive lines, and they don't take 9 sacks because at some point they start getting rid of the ball faster. So, like, but we're not going to fault him for that. We're going to build him up as like, this man was hit 9 times, shrapnel, like whatever it is. He dodged field mines out there and was able to, carry his kicker on his back on the field and then swung the leg of Evan McPherson for a game-winning field goal. He went almost 9 quarters without throwing a touchdown pass. And the first one he threw against the Chiefs was a dump off to Samaje Perine, who did all the work for 38 yards. I just nobody's talking about all the good fortune for this whole thing to happen. It's all about how well he makes $2 gas station sunglasses look.
Well,
he should.
Like Mike said, if Carr had weapons, Bengals wouldn't be here. So in the wild card game against the Raiders, I don't know if the Raiders it was closer than people thought it was going to be, right? With the Raiders doing it, I think if they would have called the pass interference on that last play, maybe. Then you go into Tennessee and they played Tennessee. Ryan Tannehill lost that game. Ryan Tannehill lost that game more than the Bengals won that game, right?
Yeah.
And then last week, hey, credit to them, but that defense is what carried it. It wasn't Joe Burrow that won that game. It's the Cincinnati Bengals defense that made the adjustments to stop Patrick Mahomes and that offense to come back and win that game. I think there's a lot more credit being given out to Mr. Burrow than we need to give it to. I had something for you, Tony, and I forget now.
I just want to quickly mention, I got about 10 minutes left. I just want to quickly mention I'm extremely excited that Jim Bob Cooter is back in the NFL.
I was gonna send that to you in the group chat. I was gonna say I like what Doug Peterson's doing in Jacksonville. He brought back Jim Bob Cooter to go with Trevor Lawrence, and he brought over the linebacker coach from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to be his defense coordinator.
Yeah, I think he's putting together a good staff. I think it's really going to be a nice spot for Trevor Lawrence to have some more success. Maybe not in the win column, but have more success on a play-to-play basis than he had last year. Yeah. And we'll see. They're another team where it's like you got to get a little bit of offensive line help, not just for him, but for both those running backs. You got Etienne coming back from injury. And I assume that James Robinson will be doing the same.
Now, I did make something for you, Tony, and I don't know if you've been able to watch it, so I downloaded it on here so everybody can enjoy it. And you and I make fun of it, and it's always crazy about the decisions that players make in the offseason that could affect them, or even in the regular season. Like Deshaun Jackson, he worked his way off of the Rams roster this year, and he could have been sitting in the Super Bowl. Odell Beckham somehow got off the Browns. He thought about the 3 teams. I don't know if you've seen that interview that he was talking about. He almost went to the Patriots, almost went to the Saints, but then decided to go to the Rams. Something in him. Hey, now he's in the Super Bowl. Eli Apple, he's in the Super Bowl with the Cincinnati Bengals. He actually signed and was ready to go to Las Vegas, the Raiders. And in between overnight, something changed. They said, never mind. He went on and did his thing with the Bengals. So it's interesting to see what players do and where they end up at the end of the season. And this is one of the guys that you and I have talked about, and you actually came up with this video idea. So here it is for you, Tony. AJ Green went to the Cardinals, and this is him.
Going for good, are you, honey?
You're going nowhere, Happy, and you're taking me with you. All you ever talk about is being a pro hockey player, but there's a problem. You're not any good.
I am good. You know what? You're a lousy kindergarten teacher. I've seen those finger paintings you bring home, and they suck. I'm sorry, babe. I didn't mean that. I think they're excellent finger paintings. Please, don't go.
I am not spending the rest of my life with a loser. I'm gone.
Good, then get the hell out of my life. Who needs you? Beat it. Leave me alone. I'm sorry, babe. I didn't mean that either. I just yell sometimes because I get so scared.
That's AJ Green begging the Bengals.
I love it. I love it. It's that whole scene is exactly how I feel that AJ Green has to be feeling right now. Like he gave everything he possibly could, and I have made a case that if he has a couple of good years away from the Bengals, he's Hall of Fame level talent, right? Like the guy was sensational in Cincinnati. He just didn't get a lot of coverage. But you move on and your team goes to the Super Bowl the first year you're gone. And all the hype was around the Cardinals and them going, the Cardinals brought in J.J. Watt and A.J. Green, and then they get stomped out in the first round. And now the quarterback that you went to go play with is pulling all of his pictures down from the organization. Like,
I don't get that. I don't get the Kyle Murray drama right now.
I don't either, and I feel like he's playing his hand too early because he's only headed into his 4th year, and it's like I think that they definitely need to try and make things right with him. But I remember there's something else that you mentioned about Eli Apple. It was funny because Cam Jordan took a shot at him the other day when he was being interviewed, when he was like, "Oh yeah, it's good to see like Eli Apple playing in the Super Bowl. It's it's good to see he's finally covering some people." And I just started laughing so hard because I don't know if they're friends and he's taking that shot at him saying like good to see Eli Apple is finally actually playing good football. Because when he was with the Saints, he was getting torched. And I think he was playing on the opposite side of Lattimore. So it's like, obviously he's going to get more of the attention because that's who you'd rather attack. But still, just to hear Cam Jordan kind of taking a crack at him like that, he did it with smile on his face, but it just really made me like sit up in my seat and laugh because I was like, oh, these guys are friends, I guess, teammates.
Well, see, New York Giant fans are doing the same thing. They're with Odell Beckham and Eli Apple. Those are both first-round draft picks that they had, and both watching them succeed somewhere else.
Yeah, well, it's one of those things that I think that I'm becoming to like about Zach Taylor or whatever. Like, he seems to let people do their jobs and he just tries to get the best that he possibly can out of whoever is there rather than forcing them into what he thinks they are. And I don't know how involved he is with the defense, but Mike and I have talked several times about Zach Taylor's ability to make second half adjustments to the offense, kind of figuring out stuff there. I thought the adjustment against the Chiefs in the second half of that game was very interesting, where they basically just said like, hey, run CEH or whatever. And if you do, you're going to pick up 6-7 yards against this, we're rushing 3 guys against you. Like, we're going to give this to you. We're not going to give you any more of the other stuff. And the Chiefs just never ran the ball. They just kept.
Well, and they went to that, hey, we'll give you the 3-yard pass or 4-yard pass. But they know that Patrick Mahomes ain't looking for that. He ain't looking for that little dump off. Then that doesn't make that's not the Patrick Mahomes way. That doesn't make him look good on the highlights on ESPN.
No, it doesn't. And also, he reminds me of what baseball has become, where everything is a home run or a strikeout. And it's like, it's just not. It's good for television because when you just go back and watch the highlights, you're like, look at Patrick Mahomes throw this ball across the field. This ball travels 77 yards in the air. The sports metrics said there was a 13% chance it would be completed, but with Patrick Mahomes, it's undeniable. It's like, okay, we get it, but you lost the game, and you're starting to lose more of the big games than you're winning, which becomes a problem. And when you're the favorite in all of these games, it's a bad look. It's a bad look to be losing at home against an inexperienced Bengals team.
And now the pressure is really going to be on him when he's making $45 million a season.
Yeah, I just think it's going to be interesting to see what happens as Andy Reid gets closer to retirement, and then you get Travis Kelce aging, and Tyreek's not going to be able to be a cheetah forever. He still might be a cheetah, but like an old cheetah. Like one of the cheetahs that one of the dentists from Minnesota flies out to the Sahara and hunts, the old dying cheetah.
Well, it seems like Tyreek has been able to get shut down in bigger games now. Like, he was a little bit of a factor in the first half of the last week, but then they shut him down. Then he became nothing. So it's not like Tyreek Hill has been the biggest factor of them all anymore. Like you said, Travis Kelce, of course, that's hard because you got to find somebody to match up with Travis Kelce. Either you have to have a good safety or a good linebacker. and that's the hardest part. But it seems like Hill has been able to get shut down.
I think the other thing with Hill is that at a certain point, it starts to set in the Deshaun Jackson factor, where like you're so fast and it's so effortless, but as you age and your body gets older, you go to hit that extra gear, and then all of a sudden, pop your hamstring. And you're out for 4 or 5 games, nursing a quad or a hammy or something like that. And I think we will start to see more of that. Maybe not next season, but definitely in years to come. And then it's like, do you make it work with Mecole Hardman? Do you make it work with guys like Pringle or, whichever new guys they're bringing into the fold?
Let me talk to you about this one. This one has to be like impressive to you. Eric Weddle, of what he's done, he took 3 years off, came back. He led the team in tackles last week, and he's just dominating. Like he changed that whole secondary for the Rams in the postseason right now.
Yeah, it's definitely impressive the way he's playing on sort of like just guile, just smarts, and the ability to get out there and compete at this level while you've been playing pickup basketball and surfing or whatever the hell he's been doing for 3 years. It's great for him. I've always liked him. He's always been one of my favorite players. I think played way more, like he was way better than what his ability was. And those players always intrigue me. Like I talk about this with Mike all the time. My favorite players like the Hines Wards and Steve Smiths and those guys that are just overachieving for what their actual skill level is.
Yeah, and hey, he's balling out. He's actually he got signed right before the playoffs, and I just read that he will wear the helmet in the Super Bowl that calls the plays. That's how big he's gone in 4 weeks. How much of an impact he's made on that Rams defense. So good for him. If he goes out and gets his ring, I've already put out, and I've already been getting hit up by Bengal fans, but I've already put my support out there for the Rams. I let it go for a week, and I was like, I'm going to see if I have something, if the Bengals can do something to me to make me go, okay, the Bengals are going to win this. But to me, I think the Rams win this game, and I think they win it easily, Tony.
Yeah, we're going to talk more about that tomorrow.
Well, not tomorrow, because tomorrow –
or Saturday, right?
Yeah. Tomorrow, Mike and I are going, and I'm taking Jake, and we're going down to that NFL fan experience. Mike's all excited because Jerry Rice is supposed to be there. Micah Parsons, Trayvon Diggs. There's a list of people that are supposed to be there at the time slot that we're supposed to be there. So Russell Wilson.
I thought the Cowboys are supposed to play in the Super Bowl this year. Why are all those? What happened? Well, they'll be at next year's fan experience.
The Cowboys said they were going to be in LA during the Super Bowl, and they're in LA.
They definitely are. Joe, I have to run and pick up my children from school. I look forward to our Saturday night conversation. I think we're aiming for 5 p.m. Super Bowl talk, predictions, MVP, sleepers. I'm going to talk about food that I want to eat.
Talk about SoFi Stadium and how it's $1,000 to park.
Yeah, you can talk about the fan experience. I'm going to talk about the movie that I like to watch the night before the Super Bowl. It's
hopefully by Saturday. So we'll come back Saturday. Hopefully by Saturday, I'll have a bunch of clips from that NFL experience. I'm supposed to meet up. Mike and I are going to meet up with Fernando again, Ramirez. He's been on media. What do they call it? Media row all week down there. So maybe we'll find out who he's ran into. Maybe we'll run into some people, and we'll just have a great Saturday pre-Super Bowl ready to go show.
Yeah, we got to convince Mike that to bring the mini microphone. It doesn't need to be functional. It's just a prop. It's just funny.
Just do it.
Yeah.
All right, Tony. We'll see you guys Saturday night and maybe even Sunday. Later.